Tēnā koutou katoa. No mai, haere mai, hello and welcome to you all. My name is Hayley Horan and I'm absolutely thrilled to be your MC as we today explore the key elements of creating a high-performing workplace culture. Welcome to our esteemed panelists, the wonderful Julie Gill. Julie is a founder and CEO of Best Places to Work. Julie has started a movement to have New Zealand be seen as the best place in the world to work. And the fabulous Nicola Taylor, co-founder of Tax Traders and 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Nicola is a lawyer and a tax tech entrepreneur who is on a mission for justice, equity, and a tax system that works for everyone. And Carly Boast is the Vice President of People at LawVu, one of New Zealand's fastest growing global startups. Carly's deep expertise in people management and cultural development is instrumental in driving LawVu's mission to streamline legal operations and enhance the delivery of legal services. And a man who needs no introduction, the incredible David Downs. David is a prominent New Zealand figure with a multifaceted career spanning business, public service, writing, and comedy. David is currently the CEO of the New Zealand Story, an organisation funded by government to market New Zealand internationally. But most importantly, David Downs is a judge at Best Places to Work.
I think I'm also the diversity play today, Hayley.
Yes. You're very welcome. You're very lucky to be invited.
Hate this sort of tokenism.
How does that feel, David? How does it feel?
Right. Now to our amazing audience that are tuned in from all over the world by the looks. Please put your questions in the chat. We're going to do our best to answer those. The wonderful panelists are happy for you to reach out on LinkedIn, ask any questions. This is all open as we are here for you. Right, let's get started. Julie, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us about the history of Best Places to Work and why is now the right time to revive this incredible program?
Brilliant. Yes, thanks, Hayley, and thanks for the panel for joining us today, and welcome everybody who's online. As Hayley said, it'll also be available on demand. But yes, Best Places to Work, well, it's always been a passion of mine since the early 2000s. The program was run by Unlimited magazine, and as then the owner and the publisher, it was definitely my most, inspirational and favourite program, as our goal was to inspire leaders and entrepreneurs in the country. And Best Place to Work really identified, recognised and celebrated great workplaces and employee experience. But as you say, after a bit of hiatus, we've relaunched and reinvented the programme. But in terms of, I suppose, the why, well, Kiwi businesses are, full of talented, forward thinkers, and they never stop growing. And as in that case, the demand for talents is on the rise in New Zealand. And so we feel the timing is right now. But I would say, Hayley, we do have some very ambitious and aspirational goals for ourselves, our participants, our sponsors and our partners with Best Places to Work. And our vision really is that, and goal is for New Zealand to become the global leader in employee experience. We believe that our inherent values in terms of showing respect, generosity, caring for others, means that our national culture really should and does give us a head start in this space, and in turn will lead to business excellence and outcomes. But it is a journey. It definitely is a journey, and we're on a real mission to support all workplaces, every workplace in New Zealand, on their journey to benchmark, develop, and improve employee experience.
Fantastic. So, what is the Best Places to Work program? Give us a couple of tips.
A bit of a summary on it. Well, I suppose it is a program. But it's a program where we really want to identify and raise all the boats in New Zealand. And to do this, it breaks down to 3 areas. So there's the survey, the awards, and the masterclass. And we want to identify the best employee experience through the survey. We want to share that innovation and best practice with all organisations through the masterclasses, but also support them on the journey. Because as we say, not everybody is there. Some people are starting that journey, and some people are in the middle trying to develop, or there's leaders. So we really want to get everyone together to share with each other as well and share best practice. And that will definitely be also through the awards where we'll be showcasing, I suppose, the best of the best in terms of our finalists and winners. But in terms of the programme itself, I think the important thing is that it does help and enable companies to benchmark themselves, against their industry and their peers. It's an independent surveying programme. But also the survey itself, although companies will be doing their own surveys, it does help them do a real pulse check into what's going on with their employees. And Nicola and I were talking last week about this. It's like they don't want to hear all the great stuff. They also want to hear about where they need to improve. And that's the important part of the anonymous side of the survey, gives companies that real insight to their employee experience. And also, we want to showcase that success with the awards, because it's really important right now to try and sustain and attract talent. So, this is a really good way of telling that story out to the market, but also utilising the survey data to see how companies can improve their culture and boost productivity. I think the other thing that we really want to do is we do want to inspire and raise, all businesses. And we really are striving with Best Places Work to be the brand that, as you said at the beginning, is going to inspire the world's greatest workplace, that New Zealand could be the great workplace, not just a great place to live, but also a great place to work, and what that looks like. So really, really excited about today in terms of hearing from some of the companies that have entered the survey, and obviously from Dave's point of view internationally. But I think more importantly is the programme, how it helps share success, really, Hayley. I think it's about coming together and sharing is the key thing for this programme.
Great. So we're going to kick off the sharing, because that's what this is all about with the fabulous Nicola. Can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and most importantly, what you believe are the key factors to creating a high-performing workplace culture?
Yeah, sure. Morena, Hayley. Hi, everyone. So neat to be on this webinar with you this morning. Hey, so our entrepreneurial journey started 12 years ago at our kitchen table in Onehunga. My husband Josh had just been made redundant, which was a very difficult experience. And we had 2 little children. I was about to be pregnant with our 3rd. And we decided that the thing to do would be to set up tax traders. That was our own business. We saw there was a real gap in the marketplace, and that not all companies were being served well by parts of our tax pooling framework. So we set up in the kitchen table at Onehunga. We actually sold our house to fund the business. We went 18 months without any income. We moved into a friend's house when our littlest was 6 days old. And it was a real roller coaster. Obviously, 18 months in, the business started working, and we grew quickly from there. And then we launched Taxi earlier this year. But I guess if you think about why did we do that, then there was 2 big drivers. The first is our belief that the benefits of the tax system should be available to all New Zealand companies, not just the big guys. That has driven our work. And the second is that business can be a force for good. That business should be a force for good. And in particular, that the workplace should be amazing for people. The workplace shouldn't leave people broken and insecure and unsure of themselves and anxious. Actually, the workplace should be a place where people can experience satisfaction and joy, and maybe even healing. So that was a real driver for us. And I suppose we got to build our culture from the ground up. And I think as an entrepreneur, you can sometimes think, culture can come later. Culture can come later when we've got lots of revenue and we've got lots of team. But the thing is, culture is happening. The only question is, are you building it intentionally, or are you just letting it kind of slide? And so we got the chance to be really intentional about building the kind of workplace that we wanted to build. So look, we do lots of really great things, and I guess we can experiment a little bit because we have only about 50 people on the team. So we've got lots of cool policies that we're known for. Our dads have 6 months paid parental leave. We have school holiday programs. Actually, there was one happening just earlier, so I think we're lucky that everyone's left because it was very noisy. We do Wellbeing Month. We have our annual tax cap retreat, which is like nothing you've ever experienced. So we've got so many great policies, but the key is they are built on a strong belief and a strong framework of purpose and of our DNA. They're not just kind of floating. They're built on a strong framework. So I think if you ask, what do we think the key factors are to creating a high-performance workplace culture, I'd say we think deeply about humans, and then we think deeply about how humans thrive. People thrive when they're seen well, when they're seen holistically. We don't actually have a work self and a home self. We just have self. And they thrive when they're seen in that way. People thrive when they feel like they're loved. People thrive when the work that they do counts, when they feel like what I do matters. So what I am doing, what I'm good at, and I'm working in my strengths, and I'm doing something that I enjoy. And I think humans also thrive when they feel control over their work. So work isn't happening to them, but they're an active participator in creating their work and their workplace. So I think autonomy, and then also like learning, growing, development, people knowing that they're actually getting better at things. So that kind of notion of mastery. So yeah, I'd start with people being seen, people being really well seen as their authentic selves, people working with purpose, working in their strengths, doing something that they really enjoy, and that notion that they have control and that they're getting better at their work.
I love that. Thank you so much. A few key words there: deliberate and thrive. We're going to come back to those in a moment, but really critical words. And now I'm going to come over to you, Carly, because I'd really love to know from you, like, tell us a bit about your leadership journey, and also, why are you so passionate about workplace culture?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm absolutely honoured to be part of this movement and part of this esteemed panel. So firstly, goodness, I'm going to show my age now. I've been on a leadership journey for over 20 years now. And to be honest, it's been a dynamic evolution through various industries, stages of growth, different sized businesses and different types of roles. And I think what I found is I've always had a really strong focus on people, and leadership has been my natural default. It's it gets me out of bed in the morning. I guess what ignites my passion is the profound impact a positive workplace culture can have on not only individuals, organisations, but on the wider communities that we live in. If we can develop those really meaningful employee experiences where people feel valued and that sense of belonging, and they're just really thriving in their jobs, and they go home better people, then in my view, it impacts the world, the wider community. And not only that, it helps New Zealand be a better place. So I guess I've seen firsthand how important culture can empower teams to innovate, collaborate, and also achieve those remarkable results that really help fuel a successful business. I mean, as leaders, I feel that we have a responsibility to really cultivate environments that everyone does feel valued, inspired, they feel that sense of belonging and purpose and mission, and they also have a right to access to really good workplaces that care about them. And I think once we get those little ingredients all together, we really set ourselves up to have a really good, high-performing team, a fantastic culture. On the side of that too, I'm really passionate about culture. Culture is never done. It's like a product. You are constantly designing, getting feedback, measuring culture. It changes in different stages of growth as well, and different times. So it's about being really, laser focused on always developing your culture and understanding what is your DNA, what are your core values, what is the thing that separates your business and your team to the rest of the world? And then you put all your energy into that, and you own it, and you learn, you grow with everybody in the team. And playing as a winning team is critical too. It's about performance. It's about being a successful business. And once you have those elements really, really, exceptional, the people just thrive, and they'll go home better people. And we're doing really good work there. So that's what I'm passionate about.
Oh, that's incredible. And I think, that piece on communities, I just wonder, as business leaders, sometimes it can feel uncertain, stressful, all the words, insert them here, but ultimately together, really driving a business community and actually taking the person and thinking about communities and thriving. That's really powerful, especially in times that are, not so kind at the moment in so many ways. But hey, right, over to you, David. You get asked to be part of a lot of things. Why best places to work for you? Why did you say, yes, Julie, no problem, I'll be there?
Well, I've always loved this idea of celebrating, or because what Best Places to Work does is two things. One, it celebrates organizations that are doing really well, and Nicola just talked about what she's doing. It's doing amazing. But secondly, it actually creates inspiration, ideas, training, if you like, sometimes for others, so that we can all improve. So not just about patting someone on the back. It's actually about saying, look, these are some of the kind of contemporary best practices. I think workplace culture and environments are changing rapidly. It'd be really interesting to see what the kind of best practices now post-COVID and this kind of hybrid working world. I mean, look at the five of us. We're all working from completely different locations. There's not a real swimming pool behind me. I'm in a conference room at the moment.
This is a real cupboard.
But, how do you care for people in this environment where actually you no longer control the workplace? So the place to work thing is going to be really interesting. So I think that for me was really intriguing, is how do we do that? And then for me, the other thing is New Zealand is known globally as a country that cares about people, and having this process or this program is a way that, again, we can showcase what that might look like, what does care for people look like, and how do we match that into our international reputation that we already enjoy.
Yeah, I love that, and especially Carly, for you, and the audience and others, building a startup globally from New Zealand. I mean, surely that whole story piece and that ability to be able to celebrate from a country level must be really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's not easy at all. It's a real grind every day, and it's something. I mean, that is why a growth mindset is so heavily embedded at LawVu. When you're trying to foster a high-performing culture, you've got to intentionally focus on the several key elements. Firstly, it's about having compelling purpose and vision. What is aligning everybody to that guiding light that is, that you're all there to achieve? It's about having clear set of expectations and desired behaviors which come through your core values. It's about continuous learning development, ensuring teams can adapt against that change. I mean, global space is completely different, like nothing I've never experienced before. And that's why you've got to have really transparent, candid communication too. Like, we're really passionate about that, because the intention is always assume positive intent. You're trying to help people and give feedback. It's really, really important. And look, those are just some of the elements I can talk to around a high-performing culture and what sort of sets us up for success in a global space, because it is challenging, but it's so rewarding as well. And we get to share our New Zealand story. Everyone loves the Kiwi culture and the way we do things. So it's really cool to showcase that. And I'm just, really passionate about it.
I love it. Thank you. Nicola, why best places to work for you? You're doing great anyway. I mean, things are great. Why best places to work?
Look, I just wanted to join this movement of inspiring the world's best workplaces. I, like Carly said, I believe so deeply in the impact of a workplace on humans, on their families, on their communities. And I just thought, here's a great community that believes the same thing. I want to get amongst that. I think, practically speaking, I also think really important that we actually elevate how important it is to create workplaces, right? We're elevating this. We're saying, hey, this is something that's important. It's important to people. It's important to the country. And we're going to reward that. We're going to esteem that. So I really love the elevation of the importance of a workplace. And then for us, culture's never done. There's no finish line. As soon as you feel like you're really nailing kind of, 8 out of 10 things or, whatever, something else will then need your attention, right? It's never done. So for us also, we wanted to learn from other organizations, but I also valued the opportunity for a well-researched, sound survey which was anonymous. We do a lot of feedback here, but we don't do a lot of anonymous feedback. So I thought, well, maybe we'll learn something. Maybe we'll learn what people are really loving, but maybe more importantly, we'll learn where we can do a little bit better. And so the survey itself was one of the reasons I thought we should be part of it. And it was great. Like it's been so helpful for us to date. And I can't, and that's just only going to increase as we start to engage with other organisations in the program. So thank you. It's been wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you. And Carly, same question to you. Why best places to work?
I love what she said, Nicola.
I got it easy.
We're recording it.
Look, it's just a natural fit for us at LawVu and for me as a person. You have to be able to share your experiences and seek feedback that is really, really critical to being better and to be able to cultivate that culture that sets you up to be one of the best places to work, right? You've got to be able to measure stuff too. It's all very well getting the data and seeking the feedback, but what are you going to do about it? And that's what's really important to us. We're continually improving the way we do things every single day. It's embedded in our leadership culture. So being able to measure and get really, really good data from a very trusted third party is exceptionally important to us. Like we do our pulse surveys and stuff through a really renowned system as well here, but this is just the next level. This is the next way to do it. And you can look at your industry benchmarks, you can share learnings with your peers, and it just puts us on the stage and it says, hey, it'll help us attract that really scarce talent that is in our industry and put us on the map. So we're all about that. Let's talk about it. And it's part of the movement. So really, really excited to be here as well. Thank you.
Hey, David, so thanks for that, Carly, because how do we tell our story? I think you've just come back from a little whirlwind tour of it.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
So, help us out here. We want to attract this talent. We've got great companies. How can we best tell our story?
Yeah, and at New Zealand Story, that's exactly what we think about. How do we talk about New Zealand to the world in a very authentic way? And if we put it in the context of best places to work, it's not about, have you got a ping pong table and do you have, soft drinks for free or whatever at lunchtime? And that's a very, tactical way of thinking about it. It's about how do you value the individual as a person? And Nicola sort of talked about it really well earlier, autonomy, a sense of purpose, a sense of that they can achieve, etc. These are all manaakitanga. If you wrap that up into a Māori concept of respecting the mana and building the mana of others, and that kind of value that New Zealand has of care for people is again one of our most inspirational, I suppose, international attributes. When we do research globally, which we do quite regularly about what people think about New Zealand, the things that stand out is our natural beauty of our environment and therefore the care for the environment that comes through from that, and the people, the friendly, trustworthy, warm, welcoming people, and therefore the kind of society, therefore, that values those people and makes them that way. And even though we at times may look at the news and feel like, oh my gosh, everything's tough, when you step back from New Zealand and take a global perspective of our country, we're seen as this sort of really special place, this almost utopian at times place that has this care for people in place at its very core of who we are. So I guess when we're thinking about judging for best places to work, it's those sorts of things that we're going to look for, not have you got a foosball table or whatever. It's going to be actually how do you celebrate the individuals and help them to be the best they can be. And then, as I say, as you've asked us, globally, we know that will be attractive.
Yeah, and I love that because I think when we were our pre-briefing call on this, we talked about if people want to live around the world, and that's great, but how do they still work for a New Zealand company? And I think having those messages globally is really important. But just coming back to, you talked about the judging criteria, David. Do you want to just touch on a little bit about the criteria? What are the judges going to be looking for?
Actually, just before I do, because you just picked on something really interesting, and I was just internationally, as you mentioned last week, and I was in the Philippines, of all places. And one of the things that really I noticed was that we went and visited a New Zealand company that's based in the Philippines that employs therefore about 400 Filipinos, but they were doing it in a very Kiwi way. They were very much a New Zealand business that happened to have a presence and therefore employees in the Philippines. And it was quite noticeable. So, for example, they sang us a waiata at the end of our visit to honour us. We were there with the Prime Minister. They welcomed us with food. Food's a big part of the Filipino culture, but it's actually a kind of a Kiwi thing as well. So you're right. There's these attributes of New Zealand businesses that don't mean that everyone in your business needs to be a Kiwi, and doesn't even always mean that everyone in your business needs to be living in New Zealand. Like, so, that's the sort of stuff we're looking for. But anyway, coming back to your question, I mean, the best places to work has been around a while, as you know, and I guess what we're looking for is the judging criteria will look at the employee experience, the customer experience, and the organizational performance. So you're kind of looking at this, not only have you got a fantastic workplace, but does it lead to some outcomes for your customers? Do you deliver value to customers based on the fact that your employees are having a great experience? And then does your organization receive some benefit from it as well? So, I mean, you can have a wonderful place to work, but you're not actually delivering to a customer, or you're not actually driving value for your organization. This is still, an organizational value, whether that's measured in dollar terms or social outcomes or whatever it might be. So I guess that's the triangulation. So we look at the survey feedback comes in that looks at the employee engagement. The submissions also look at customer engagement and company growth and company performance. And then it gives an opportunity for the respondees to talk about what are the programs or initiatives or things like what Nicola was talking about earlier that therefore create that work environment. So it's robust. It allows for, hopefully the judging criteria allows for a little bit of individualism, because that's kind of what we're after. But it does track back to, it's not just a nice place to work, and it's not a nice place to be. It's a place that delivers something to a customer or an organizational performance as well. So you got to think about all those things.
Oh, that's exceptional. So I heard employee experience, delivering value for the customer, and business performance. Because let's face it, I love that. You can have free cans of whatever drink, but ultimately the reality is you want to belong, be doing something super valuable, but actually ultimately you want to be growing sustainable businesses so you can keep investing back into
and if you look at the and I'm sure many people on the call, or many people who enter will have read all the business books in the world, the good to greats and all this sort of stuff. Fundamentally there's a logic that says if your employees feel valued, empowered, and have a sense of purpose, then the outcomes that you're looking for from a customer point of view and a business point of view will follow. It's sort of that way around. Everyone talks about being customer centric. Absolutely, you should keep the customer's requirements in mind. But what best places to work sort of implies is that actually being employee centric for a while is actually a really good thing as well.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Nicola, do you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I love that. And look, you say, hey, it's much easier to provide great customer service and help your clients or your customers feel loved and feel seen and feel well looked after if you yourself experience that in the workplace. It's kind of obvious. If you're super grumpy and you feel like you don't like your job, you're not going to be able to provide the best customer service. That's kind of like a no-brainer. But I think, and Carly would have something to say about this, I think when you look at innovation, how do we take risks? How do we create new products? How do we bring new things to market? That also requires a particular kind of culture to bring that forward. So, yep, I would absolutely say being employee-centric, being people first is, in my experience, always going to lead to great business outcomes. But I would say that's not the reason that we have people at our heart and that we are employee centric. We actually do that because that is a good in and of itself. It's the right thing to do to treat people well and create a great workplace. However, you do find that it leads to the most remarkable outcomes.
I love that. It's the right thing to do. It just seems so simple when you say it like that. But Carly, just wondering if you wanted to add anything on that.
Again, agree totally with what everyone is saying on the call. It's about to innovate, right? Innovation is critical to the success of LawVu especially, and you have to have psychological safety with that, and that comes from the trust and leadership. So we spend a lot of time and investment on developing our emerging leaders in the business. We have a Lead Academy program, which is a makeup of practical external mentoring, all these kind of things, and actually giving them the tools to be able to give really good feedback, to empower their teams through our leadership principles to really innovate. And to innovate and be successful, you have to have that trust. And biggest of all is the trust and leadership that then cascades down into the business. So we are very passionate about that. and you just got to keep moving. You got to have that growth mindset. That's what's really important. That's our DNA at LawVu, is that growth mindset. Fail forward, fail fast, start again. It's okay. Have each other's back. And that is what creates our success in the market.
Hey, Hayley, I wonder if it might be helpful just to run through what the sort of 8 areas that we look at as judges, because we've touched on a couple of them. And this goes to the kind of the reason why you would enter Great Place to Work, the Best Place to Work as well, because you might be really good at something but actually have a bit of a blind spot. So the 8 things we look at are trust and leadership, connection, environment, innovation, well-being, connection with the team, performance and growth, and tools and tech. And so those 8 things, sometimes you can really have over-indexed on something. You're really, really good at, innovation or tools and technology, but actually you've forgotten the fact that, connection to the purpose of the organization is important, or vice versa. So entering gives you almost a diagnostic and a comparison as well. It's not just about entering for the sake of showing off. It's entering for the sake of actually understanding and learning as well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And as a country, we're a little bit humble, so we could do better at showing off, just saying. But no, I love that. And I think that let's come to that a little bit, because, the audience is out there and go, oh, that all just sounds so lovely and your workplaces are fabulous and everyone high fives. But actually, it's more than that. It's hard. I think, Nicola, you said it's a work in progress. It's a constant every day getting up. So can you, and Carly, I'm going to come to you in a minute with the same question, but Nicola, can you just share, when hasn't it gone so great? Kind of what are some of the things you've learned, and what's a couple of tips you would leave the audience with today?
Yeah, that's great. Look, we're imperfect humans and we make mistakes as an employer, but our promise is, hey, we'll pick ourselves up, we'll apologize, we'll own that, and we'll do better next time. So maybe a couple of things I've learned. One, if you can't find the right tool that actually reflects your culture and your DNA, just build your own. We couldn't find an onboarding tool that really did the job. So we built our own, and it's absolutely incredible, and it speaks directly to who we are. Then we realized that actually we had a great onboarding program, but we didn't have a great offboarding program. Now, that's not right. You've got to value people for the whole life cycle as humans, not just because they're coming to work for you, but actually as people. So we built our offboarding program. So I think that kind of confidence to say, hey, this doesn't reflect who we are, we want to do it differently, would be something. But again, the other I guess perhaps lesson that we've learned is, if you take your culture seriously, then you've got to write that down, and you've got to be ready to hire on it. You've got to be ready to fire on it. You've got to promote on it, not on other kind of metrics, but actually on your DNA and your culture. And so again, we've built our own progression framework within Taxi and within Tax Traders, so that we are really celebrating the right kind of behavior, and we're promoting the right kind of behavior that'll keep our culture strong. But where I kind of stuffed up on this, and I think startups or high pressured, when there's not a lot of talent out there, that you can, when you're recruiting, you get to that stage where you're like, you know what, we just need someone. We just need to fill this gap, and we need to do it really quickly because, deadline, et cetera, new product, new launch, whatever. And then you take your eyes off what's really important in a human and your team, and every time we've got into trouble, we've cut corners on our recruitment, we've cut corners on our onboarding, and we've thought it'll be right, and it never is. It never is. If you believe in your culture and your DNA, then actually back yourself, make your own tools that really reflect you, write it down so it's known and it's lived, and people breathe it and hold you to account on it, and then just don't cut corners. Don't cut corners. Take the time. I mean, I think, at Google they say that they don't have their managers hiring the people that are going to work in their team. And that's because you can get so desperate as a manager that you need someone that you will just grab someone who's not 100% right. And honestly, it's a terrible mistake to make. So don't cut corners, believe in yourself, write it down, make your own tools. There you go.
I love that. That is, it is interesting, isn't it? The minute you start to compromise, and sometimes that can be in life as well as
right.
In the workplace, it's like, oh, that's right. That's actually not what I really wanted.
And there's often good reasons for it, right? You can justify it in your brain, but that's why it's really good to have someone else, who's outside of maybe that work group or that chapter or that squad saying, actually, is this right? Yeah, like, I think it's not. Yeah. So compromise often doesn't lead to good places.
Thank you. What about you, Carly?
She's speaking my love language today.
We should definitely hang out. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. I think probably on that, because I think it's just so critical to any company culture and the success of it, right, is core values. Yeah, we've got really 6 really strong core values, and our ethos at LawVu is that you recruit, reward, and release based on them. So some of the mistakes that we've made in the past, particularly over my journey in the last 25 years, is that it's just taking too long to deal with a problem, right? You've got to be brave enough and self-aware of your own blind spots to have those really tough conversations, and they are really hard to have. But when you've got those little elements of trust and leadership, and you know who you are as a company, you can really own those conversations. So recruit, reward, release. Everything you do is around core values. It's in every single language opportunity for conversation that you have every single day. So that's probably a tip there. A lesson would be just always be your authentic self. Never be afraid of who you are as a person and your leadership style, and self-awareness as well, and having that growth mindset. I go back to that again, but you cannot be better leaders or people if you don't understand what your blind spots are or your weaknesses, and then you're not evolving and growing and seeking that feedback for them. So being self-aware, embracing it, self-improvement builds resilience, it builds innovation, and those to me are the essential traits for navigating challenges and just fostering that culture of continuous improvement and success in an organisation.
Mm-hmm. Hayley, I tell you what, if we want to go super practical, one super practical thing that we've been really leaning into in a new way this year is just that core human ritual of one-on-ones. So every human here has one-on-ones, and they are every week without fail. They're 15 minutes long. They actually have them with someone within their work area and someone who's not in their work area. But they're 15 minutes long, and they cover those key questions. Was I excited to come to work today? Am I working in my strengths? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? And it's just 15 minutes. It's consistency, not intensity. And so if you're also a little bit introverted, like I am, and sometimes you feel like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to keep a conversation going for an hour. Just 15-minute check-in once a week, 52 weeks of the year, or however many weeks that you're working in a year is really important. So that core human ritual of your one-on-one frequency, consistency, not necessarily intensity, is something that we're really leaning into afresh this year, and has actually been really great for us. So that would be one very practical tip that people could, try or lean into in a different way.
That is perfect. Thank you very much. I'm sure everybody online's just written all of those down. But again, remember, you can reach out to these fabulous people afterwards as well. And please feel free to pop your questions in the chat. David, on that note, you talked about New Zealand being known for, let's just say we're good sorts. And I think we take it for granted a little bit. And I know from experience, when you live overseas and people go on about the Kiwi way, it's kind of like, really? Because I don't know, we've got a bunch of problems. If I can just maybe put you on the spot, I'm not sure if I asked you this question earlier, but what's your message for New Zealand business leaders? Like, what do you aspire to, or what can you see in your mind if we truly all engaged in our uniqueness and truly took these messages and deliberately, love that word, implemented them as culture growing? What's possible for New Zealand, and what would be your message for New Zealand business leaders?
Yeah, I'll answer that in 2 ways. One is the sort of a cold hard kind of commercial way, and the second is more of a fluffy, nice person way, but they're both valid. The firstly is New Zealand's got some real challenges when it comes to things like productivity of our workplaces. We are one of the least productive countries in the world, and that doesn't mean we don't work hard. In fact, the problem is we work way too hard relative to the output and relative to what other countries can do. We're not great at using tools and technology. We're not really efficient when it comes to workplace practices. As I say, we work harder, not smarter. So one of the great things I'm looking forward to, and I think it's been missing on the scene since Best Places to Work sort of had a hiatus a few years ago, is continuous improvement in workplace practices and ideas that aren't just about making people feel better, but actually making them feel productive and empowered and making decisions more quickly. So that's a sort of a commercial way of thinking about it. And I do think that you've also got therefore the sense that, you know, we need to look after people. People are the most, everyone says this, or many business leaders say, you know, our number one, you know, most important thing is our people, but then they don't demonstrate that always, you know. People are often taken for granted, worked too hard again. And therefore organizations that have found the magic mix of how to drive a high productive workplace that achieves really great outcomes for the organization and can make people, help people feel empowered and valued, that's magic. That's the sort of two things we need to lead to. Again, going back to the sort of international data that we look at, we recently, last year, we did a couple of campaigns globally about talent attraction into New Zealand from international markets. There was a couple of industry sectors that were really looking for talent. And so we did a piece of work to understand what is the attractiveness of a New Zealand workplace versus an international one. I presume that's why Julie's asked me to be part of this. But it was interesting to see that there were sometimes things that we didn't consider, that we didn't realize we had as such assets for us. For example, being a safe and a safe country relative to other countries. The fact that we've got clean air, that we've got, you know, access to the outdoors and to nature. These sorts of things are actually highly valued internationally. For some people, it was, for example, the fact that culturally we feel approachable and we're not standoffish. It's, you know, they feel like it's easy. It would be easy to make friends in New Zealand. So these are sort of attractors to the country of New Zealand, but also workplaces. You know, imagine a new employee working into workplace and, you know, being shown their desk and then ignored for the first half a day, versus coming into Nicola's workplace and saying, actually, one of the first things, just so you know, we have a 15-minute catch up, not just me as your boss, but with the peer. You suddenly feel like, oh, actually, they're really working hard to incorporate me. And again, that's that manaakitanga that we exhibit as New Zealanders. So yeah. I guess that's it. There's a commercial lens. How do we drive a high productive economy? And then there's a people lens.
I mean, you know, you talk about welcome and manaakitanga, and I do think that we could do a lot better when it comes to onboarding. You know, it's a critical way, it's a critical moment in somebody's employment when they join. And what they're asking is, do I belong? Am I going to be safe here? Is this going to be like joyful? And so we've really invested in our onboarding. So yeah, it's a long program. I'd be happy to talk to anyone about it. It actually starts 28 days before a person lands with us, where we send them a personalized little video message from our founders. We say their name. Hey, you know, hey, Hayley. In 28 days, you're joining the team, and we can't wait for you to start with us. We gather all those, you know, pesky bits of information so that when they land on their first day, you know, payroll's taken care of. They've got a beautiful new laptop that they've requested. They've got all the technology that works for them. They have that laptop, their calendar is fully populated with their onboarding, with their syllabus. We have a first day ritual where we tell our story, where we share together, we share karakia, we share food. Like, people are, you know, really, really welcome, but we're intentional about that. There's a scavenger hunt, and they write down their first day reflections, which they look back on in a year's time. But again, it's like, hey, we care about you, you belong here, and we want you to do the most amazing work of your life. So we're setting you up for success, you know, and I think that I mean, there's so much more I could say about onboarding, but again, if you're on the call and you wanted to do anything, have a look at your onboarding program and just make it better by about 10%. Just try and think about one thing you could do to make that person feel like they belong, like they're ready to fly, and like, you're so excited to have them. Just one thing. I could give you 1,000, but just choose one.
we need to go. Are you hiring at the moment, Nicola? You sounds like a pretty good place to work.
Guess what? We do not find it hard to hire. We're very particular about it, David. We've got a very, very particular and long recruitment process. But you know what? I know some people, so maybe I can talk about.
I just noticed actually in the chat, Todd from NBR. Good to hear from you, Todd in Fiji. But he just made that very point about take the time to choose the right person. It's really important. Take a fresh look at your business, etc., etc. And then what you're saying is, and then when you've chosen them, make sure they feel like they're empowered and welcomed. Yeah,
absolutely. Right. Say their names, like personalize things. It doesn't cost you any money to write their name on a note and leave it on their welcome box. We also, again, like, how do people feel they belong? They feel like they're seen holistically. So we really drill into, what size t-shirt do your kids wear? Let's make sure we've got a couple of those of the swag in your welcome box. How does your brain work? Right? If there's neurodiversity, what can we do to like set you up for the win there? What is it that you'll need? How will you need?
The biggest problem is you're giving away all your secrets on this call, and now everyone else is going to. No,
I want every workplace to be amazing. So I'm happy to talk. Happy to talk any time about what we do for onboarding or offboarding or progression or anything like that. I'm sure that Carly's got most amazing resources in place at LawVu too. So we're happy to share, aren't we, Carly?
Yes, we are. And like, I don't know if you can, on my board right here, which is in front of me every single day, is the employee journey. So it's the part of the employee experience design, what you can do better at pre-boarding, onboarding, retaining, and then even offboarding is just as important in my view. It's about creating raving fans that are really proud to have worked for you. They want to be proud of where they've come from. So it's every part of the journey. It needs work. You got to design it, you got to get feedback for it, and you got to keep evolving it. So
I feel like a masterclass of onboarding, offboarding, bubbling in the way here, Judy. What do you reckon? I feel like we've got some masters here that can share. And look, I do want to say this is what Best Place to Work is all about. It is not about turning up with your perfect, here's the one I prepared earlier. It is about, sharing. David shared the 8 pillars. It's about meeting people that have, they've done the mahi, they've made some mistakes, and they're here to share and learn. And also being around, and Nicola and Carly both said this, and David, people, leaders who genuinely care about their people and want to learn how to do it better. But look, few questions have popped up. I think, Nicola, you've covered some off. We talked about onboarding. We've talked about people experience. I just want to give you all, before I go over to Julie or any of the audience that have got some questions, is there anything else you wanted to add? Like David, Nicola, Carly, anything of the topics we've talked about so far, and you're just like, I just want to say that thing. Carly, go ahead.
I think just do it. If you're comprehensive about entering the survey and benchmarking your culture and your workplace as it is now, just go ahead and do it. The only way to get better is to measure it and to get insights into your people and how you're operating. And to do that through a platform like this is amazing because it's anonymous. It's it's done properly and it's all taken care of you. So that would be my thing. The best places to work can only be done if we're measuring it and we're trying to be better. So just do it. And I'm here if anyone has any questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to help chew the fat.
Excellent. Nicola.
Yeah, look, I'd just say, for those out there that are running a business or who are entrepreneurs, I'd just remind you, you're not just creating a product, you're not just creating a startup, and you're not just creating a business. You are creating a place to work. And that could be the most profound thing that you ever do, because the way that we are with our people for those 40 or however many hours a week will fundamentally change the way they go home, to their family, to the way they feel about themselves, to their, mental, often their physical well-being. So don't just create a product, don't just create a startup, don't just create a business. Place a create a place to work and just make it amazing.
Fantastic. David.
Oh, I guess the thing I would add is that it's been a while since the best places to work was on the business horizon, so we may have forgotten, but it was always such an important thing, a benchmark, an inspiration, a way to learn from others. And I'm really pleased that Julie has brought it back into the New Zealand business scene. It's been a while, and even though she can't hang a map up properly because that world's backwards, I don't know how that happened. It's admirable, what we're doing here. So get it behind it too, because we want this to be, an ongoing, continuous part of how we, as a society, build better businesses.
Oh, thank you so much. And actually, Julie, it's okay that the map doesn't look right because you're so good at other things. So we've had some really rich conversation here, and I just wonder if there's anything you'd like to add. What does the audience need to know? What are the key dates? How do we do this?
Oh,
we don't have you. You're on mute, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back, yeah. Sorry, we're having a few technical issues with me. I think I was flashing, so apologies if that was a bit put into some of the audio. So I've changed angles, which is why my map's back to front to see it all happens so quick behind the scenes. Well, I think, Hayley, I think very much really want to thank Nicola and Carly and David, because from Nicola and Carly, they've already entered into the survey, and the survey obviously hasn't closed yet. And so it's great to see, companies, and we've got lots of companies with testimonials already who have gone through the survey process. And as Nicola said, we've been working really closely with TRA, and it's a really, really meaty, comprehensive survey, but it only takes 8 to 10 minutes. So it's really quick, really useful. And the survey closes, survey closes on the 17th of May. So there's still 4 weeks to go for people to have a look at the survey. Again, if you want more information, you jump on the website, or we'll send links afterwards. We can talk you through it. And the surveys probably, can be used for a couple of ways. As we say, some companies aren't doing surveys at all. So this is a great tool for them for, getting in straight away, as Nicola was saying, and understanding, what's going on with their employees. For people that are already doing maybe their own internal surveys, again, to Carly's point, it's a really good way to benchmark yourself against your peers. And as we continue over the next 2 or 3 years, it's really, really good over a couple of years to see how companies are there and they're developing. The awards is on the 25th of September, and you do have to enter the survey to enter into the awards. So that is probably the one sort of caveat in there. Obviously, there's no cost to enter into the awards. The only cost is really to do the survey, because that on itself is a standalone tool and product. But one thing we would say is, one thing about Best Place to Work, to David's point, when we ran it for years, and again bringing it back, is that it's not about penalising people, because like we say, it is about everyone on the journey. So anyone who goes into the survey, we only really share the shortlist and the finalists. So it gives other companies that chance to really find out where they're at, and follow on that, which I think is a really important area. And as Nicola said, it is anonymous. The masterclasses, which, back to your point, where I think onboarding definitely was already starting to look at what those themes will be. We run the masterclasses straight after the awards, so they run from October through to December. And in those masterclasses, we really draw on industry experts, but we bring back some of the finalists and the winners to talk at the masterclasses, to share their experience about where they've come from, how they've got there, and their journey, which we have found in the past has been, some of the hottest tickets in town, because people really want to hear from each other. And to Nicola's point, this is part of the Best Places to Work programme. We really want to encourage people to share. And I suppose from a takeaway point of view, we definitely want a Best Place to Work say, this is a programme, it's a journey. We do want to, identify and raise all the boats in New Zealand, and we do feel it's time to kind of identify some of those very best employee experience, but also share that innovation with others. So together, the business community can achieve that kind of excellence. So it's great that the team are already starting to share their insights, because why not? It's not, the secrets are the important piece. I think as well, probably the other area is that you can as to the point, like, definitely stay in contact with us, because we haven't decided the themes of the masterclasses yet. So great if people have got ideas on kind of content themes they'd like to hear. We're going to be doing that in the next sort of couple of months, and or things that the business community would like to go to, the type of masterclasses and the content that's important to them. So that's probably the hygiene part of the program. But just to kind of really say, come on the journey with us, and inspire others to follow. And it is all about retaining and sustaining and attracting talent. So a little bit of a pitch at the end. Put your hands up if you're one of the best places to work in New Zealand, and we're keen to hear from you, Hayley, really.
Kia ora. Love it. You've put down the challenge. Join the movement. Let's get together, start the community. Hey, look, thank you so much to our audience. Keep the questions coming, because our panelists are more than happy to be following those up. Reach out. David, Nicola, Carly, Julie, thank you so much. And everybody online today. This is one of many of our sharing and learning sessions. So take care. Ka kite anō. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hayley.